I'm Danielle. Welcome back to my High Plains Life. It's July 12th, and this is episode 6. I missed recording last week because I had a death in the family, and we returned home to attend the funeral and see family. And so I just didn't have any time and wasn't really in the right mood to record an episode. So that's why I missed last week, but now we're back home and settling back in and on with episode 6. So, what I'm drinking, my mug is out of reach. It's Irish breakfast tea with cream and honey. Both, you say? Why, yes, because I can. And sorry, I almost forgot what's next on the needles. I have a finished object to show you, and this is both a knitting finished object and a spinning finished object. This is my new Bittersweet Cow by Megan Goodacre. And I have thread on it. I love the way it drapes. I don't know if you can see it. It drapes beautifully and has a lovely lace pattern to it. And I completed this last summer during the Ravelonic Games. And the Ravelonic Games is just Ravelry's version of the Knitting Olympics, I guess you'd say, that run concurrently with the Summer Olympics. And this is also out of my own hand spun. This is actually my very first hand spun that was done on my drop spindle, and it is a Falkland wool, which basically just means that the wool is sourced from the Falkland Islands, so the sheep live there. Most of it is merino or a cormo. Cormo is a cross between a Corriedale and merino sheep, so you get a merino blend in there anyway. This is not super soft, but it is very squishy. And if you look, I don't know if you can look in and see my knitting, it is not spun or plied evenly at all, but it all kind of evened out in the knitting. And I used my first hand spun. So I'm very excited about that. I had it for a while and I finally knitted it up last summer because one of the other podcasts I listened to, I cannot remember which one, recommended knitting with your hand spun as you spin it, because as you continue and progress with hand spinning, your spinning improves, your yarn improves, and then when you go back and look at your first attempts, you're like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. I can't knit with this. So if you knit with it when you've first done it, then you don't have that, horror of going back to it. So that is a knitting and a spinning FO. Now for some knitting whips. I thought this would be done by now, but it's not. This is my crossover top by Patons? Knitty? It's a free pattern. Let's just say that. So last time I had seamed my shoulder seams. You'd seen that. Well, what I've done since then, in the last 2 weeks, is pick up around the front edge and around the back and done some garter stitch edging. I picked up the first time and did not like how it looked. It looked really messy and sloppy and open. So I went back, went down a needle size to a size 6, which the rest of the garter stitch on this top is done in, while the stockinette is done in a size 7 needle. So I went down to a size 6, picked it up again, and then did my garter stitch edging, and I like it a lot better. It looks much more finished. So I have that. Now what I have to do is stitch through all layers of the front pieces. I have them pinned. This is where the pattern fails me. Stitch through doing what? With a darning needle and yarn on a sewing machine with needle and thread? I don't know. It doesn't give me any directions, and this is where my inexperience gets me. So I think I'm going to try doing it on my sewing machine, because I know you can do that. Like, that's how steeks are made, where you stitch on both sides and then cut your knitting. Ha! Nowhere near ready for that yet. So I'm going to try it on the sewing machine first. And hopefully this will be done this week. Because after that, all I have to do is the armhole edging and seaming down the sides. Now, when I lift this up, as you can tell, it looks really big. I think it's going to be too big. I even went down a size because everybody said doesn't matter if you get gauge or not, the pattern is written very large. So I even went down 2 sizes from where my gauge said I should be. And I think this is still going to be too big. So we'll see. I hope I still like it. I love this yarn. So that's my knitting. I also have, hold on, they're on the ground. I'm back. Socks to show you. These are my plain vanilla toe-up socks. I think it just started the toe last time. And this is out of Tracking XXL in colorway 165. And I've gotten the toe done. I've just finished my increases. And if you can see right along there, I started doing Hermione's Everyday Socks, the pattern, and I didn't like the way they made the colors work together. So I just went back to vanilla plain vanilla sock. And what I'm going to do is just have that be the bottom of my foot, because hey, it's my socks. It doesn't matter if I know I messed up a couple rows. I didn't feel like ripping it out by the time that I'd gotten through some knitting. So toes done. These are my travel knitting. I also have in my little you and me sock bag my Atlantic Current socks. These feel like they go so slow because there are 2 at a time. Yes, I'm still turning the heel. You can kind of, well, you can't because of the color of the yarn, but I can tell there's a little heel cup in there. That is how far I've gotten since the last time, is just about 20-25 rows, and that's it since that stitch marker. Again, travel knitting. I've done a lot of traveling. You think I would have gotten farther, but I just hadn't felt like knitting very much. So, minor progress, but continuing to inch along. Spinning. You saw my spinning finished object. I do still have some of that yarn left. And I think that it'll just go into I'm going to get sucked into making a sock yarn blanket. I know it. I can tell. I am resisting. My spinning works in progress are my loop bump. I finished the singles for that, and I started chain plying it. Chain plying is a method of achieving a 3-ply yarn while maintaining your color gradations. It's basically like one big crochet loop inside of another crochet loop, and you just keep pulling through. Easier said than done. This is the first time I've ever done it. And I felt like I needed 6 hands because 2 hands and 2 feet weren't enough. Yeah, definitely a learning curve there, but I am learning. And the finished yarn hopefully will even out and it'll look good. So that is still on my spinning wheel. That's on my Lundrum. And I will include a picture in the show notes. And my spindle spinning, because it is the Tour de Fleece. What is the Tour de Fleece, you ask? The Tour de Fleece happens every year during the Tour de France. Basically, when they ride, we spin. When they have a rest day, we rest. And spinners all over the world use this as just a means of setting a goal and trying to achieve them and winning prizes. So, based upon what team you're in. So, I've set a goal of 15 minutes a day spinning on on my wheel and on my drop spindle. And I also have a goal of trying to finish my loop bump chain ply, to have that yarn completely finished, and also to have this yarn completely finished. This has been in progress for like 2 years. It's a thick and thin. This is a Blue Face Luster and Tussa Silk blend. And it's so soft and shiny, and it's in the Red Rocks and Spruce colorway from, I know, maybe I don't. I can't read the label. It's in my project page, which I will include in the show notes. So this I am doing as a thick and thin. Give me the thick. There's a thick spot. Thick spot. Thin spot. Thick spot. I know. Because the thick areas, I'm going to apply this with a coordinating yarn, and the thick spots will become beehives or the coils, beehive coils. So I need that thick spot to wrap up against the other yarn, and then that'll make a pretty art yarn, hopefully. It's my first attempt at a beehive coil also. So that's my spinning. Is that all of it? Yes. And for what is under the needle, I have been pushing my way through these placemats. What's that, you ask? 8 placemats. Oh, that's the back of one. You didn't see my stars. All you saw were these. 8 placemats, bindings sewn down to the front. I am now on the hand stitching to the back phase. This takes a very long time. I didn't even get one done last night sitting in front of the TV. So I'm debating machine stitching them down. It won't look as nice because you will be able to see the stitching, but it'll get done a lot faster. And my goal is to have them done by Sunday so I can take them to church and give them to the lady I had intended them for. I also made a little pot holder. Yay! Because I had extra squares. Um, we'll see how my hand stitching goes. Additionally, I have finished the top of my Waves of Glory quilt. The border is on, both borders. And this is actually a three-dimensional border, if you can see that. Yay! It needs a good pressing. I need to piece the back, and then it's off to the quilters. So the top is finally all done. Yay! And that is all for Under the Needle. In the garden, I don't have much this last 2 weeks. I trimmed the tree because you couldn't even see the trunk with all the saplings grown up around it, and pulled some weeds and watched my flowers. There's nothing additionally blooming that wasn't blooming last week, and we've had plenty of rain, so hopefully the nectar's still flowing to feed the bees. In the bee yard, I attempted to do another cutout 2 weeks ago, and I was unable to because, again, the location of where the bees were entering, they were entering in through a space under the deck, and the deck, it was like a second-story deck, was tied in structurally to the house. I could not have cut in to find the hive without taking, the deck framing out of the joist hangers. There was a fireplace on top, there was weight. It wouldn't have been structurally sound after all. The bees were going in through several locations under the deck, between the deck and the house. And again, there must have been a pretty good void in there because they were making themselves right at home. And again, that was another situation I had to tell the homeowner to just go ahead and exterminate and seal it up because, again, without causing structural damage to the house, which I was not willing to do, and I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate it either. So that was another cut out without any bees at the end. As far as the 2 hives I have going right now, one is going really good, and that's the S&J hive. The queen is laying, they're making honey, and I'm getting ready to add the second super on. As far as Queen Fiona's hive, where I had seen larvae and the queen, when I checked her last week, it did not look good. The brood was spotty. I did not see a lot of larvae. I did not see the queen. The bees seemed kind of pissy. So my concern is either in my last hive check, I rolled the queen and injured her, which I saw her, I knew which frame she was on, and I tried to be very careful with it. Or she just wasn't mated very well with all this rain. That was a distinct possibility that she didn't get a good mating flight. And maybe there weren't a lot of drones in the area. I don't know how many hives people have besides me. And, the mating area, I guess wherever the drones congregate. So I don't know if I injured the queen, or if she just wasn't mated well, or if it's just going really slow. But they should be, there's nectar flowing, there's pollen coming in. They should be building up better than they are. Um, so I don't know. I will check them again this next week. I have family coming into town, and I thought I would take them out and show them the hives. I also had family in town last week, and I took them out with their girls and went through the hives with them. The girls did a great job. None of them were afraid. They all wanted to get in the hive, and they all got a taste of fresh honey right from the frames. And like I said, none of them were afraid. They were all interested, and I hope they had a good time. So that is in the bee yard. I'm hoping to have video from my next inspection for you. It's really hard to inspect hives and video at the same time, especially when I just have my phone and no tripod. So I'm considering getting a GoPro. Yeah, tell my husband I need one. Lots of comments. So I can show them to my husband saying, look, honey, they all think I need a GoPro. Yeah, because you all want to see my hive inspections, right? I know you're interested in bees. I know it. Okay, that's all. I'm blathering now. I do have some serious blather, actually, to discuss. And that is the blogging community lost a great personality a few weeks ago. Wink of a Creative Being blog lost her battle with depression and committed suicide. I know I have mentioned that I'm using this podcast as one of my therapy techniques and recovery techniques. And a few of you have asked, well, recovering from what? Are you an addict? No, I am not an addict. I suffer from depression. And I've had significant depressive episodes, and I also suffer from anxiety, which tends to immobilize me, and that cycles into my depression more. So right now I am at home working on healing myself. I'm going through therapy, and I am learning why I'm depressed, why I have all the illogical thoughts that I do. And I wasn't really going to share this with everybody. And I'm sure you're not all interested and couldn't care less either. But for those of you who might suffer from depression or other, illnesses that you can't see, I hope this helps. Jared Padalecki from Supernatural came out and admitted he suffers from depression also, and I'm hoping that just by saying that, we can, bring it out from under the rug and into the light and help others too, and let people know that they're not alone, and to keep struggling, because it's worth it. Well, I didn't intend to blather on for so long, But I hope you learned something new and plan to come back next week, where hopefully I have some more finished objects to show you. I can be found on Instagram and Ravelry as Danny Girl Colorado, and show notes can be found at myhighplainslife.blogspot.com. Thanks for watching.